Most people tiptoe through life hoping to make it safely to death. For over 4 decades, I've studied the invisible forces that shape human destiny. Why some rise to extraordinary heights, leaving legacies that echo through generations, while others drift in the shadows of unfulfilled potential, their lives a quiet tragedy of what could have been. Today, I'm here to deliver a harsh truth, a truth that may unsettle you, that may challenge your deepest assumptions, but that you must hear if you want to break free from the ordinary and claim the life you were born to live. Most people fail, not because they lack talent, opportunity, or intelligence, but because they choose paths that lead to failure, paths paved with wrong thinking, aimlessness, fear, and a refusal to take responsibility for their own destiny. This is why most people fail. Earl Nightingale's harsh truth: to confront the choices that hold you back, and to start building a future that reflects your deepest potential, your truest self. If you're ready to face reality, to hear the unfiltered truth, and to take the first step toward a life of purpose, meaning, and impact, stay with me. This is not a lecture. It's a conversation, a challenge, a lifeline to the greatness within you. Let's begin. Let's start with a truth that cuts through the noise of the modern world like a clarion call. Most people fail to live the lives they dream of. They don't fail in a blaze of glory, in a single catastrophic moment that makes headlines or garners sympathy. No, their failure is quieter, slower, more insidious, a gradual erosion of hope, a silent surrender to a life of regret. Where dreams remain unfulfilled, potential lies buried, and years slip away like sand through an hourglass, unnoticed until it's too late. I've seen it in every corner of the globe, in every profession, in every generation. Bright, capable, talented people who could have been extraordinary, who could have changed their families, their communities, the world, but who settled for ordinary, not because fate conspired against them, but because they conspired against themselves through their thoughts, their choices, their inaction. Why does this happen? Why do so many live lives that fall short of their possibilities, that betray the spark of greatness they were born with? Failure is not an accident, not a stroke of bad luck, not a verdict handed down by a cruel universe. Failure is a choice, often an unconscious one, a series of small, seemingly harmless decisions that compound over time into a life of what-ifs, and if-onlys, a life where the person you could have been becomes a stranger, a ghost that haunts your quiet moments. This choice is rooted in 4 deadly traps that ensnare the majority, traps that are so common, so pervasive, they seem almost inevitable. Wrong thinking, lack of goals, fear, and the refusal to take responsibility. These are the silent killers of potential, the chains that bind dreams, the reasons most people never become who they could be, never live the lives they were meant to live. These traps are not unique to any one person. They're universal, woven into the fabric of human experience, lying in wait for anyone who doesn't see them coming. They're insidious because they don't announce themselves with fanfare. They creep in through habits, through moments of doubt, through the comfort of routine. But here's the good news, the lifeline I'm offering you today. These traps are avoidable. They can be overcome, but only if you face them head on, only if you understand how they destroy lives, only if you choose a different path, a path of right thinking, purpose, courage, and ownership. That's what we're going to do in this conversation. We'll confront each trap, one by one, with unflinching honesty, peeling back the layers to reveal how they sabotage potential, how they keep most people stuck, drifting, unfulfilled. We'll contrast the mindset of the majority, the mindset that leads to failure, with the mindset of the successful, those rare few who break free and build lives of meaning, impact, and joy. And in every chapter, we'll give you practical, actionable steps you can take today, right now, in this very moment, to escape these traps and start building a future that matters, a future that reflects the greatness within you. This is not about blame or shame. This is not about pointing fingers or dwelling on past mistakes. This is about truth, about awakening, about giving you the tools to rise above the ordinary and claim the extraordinary life you were born for. This is about you, your potential, your dreams, your future. So, let's dive into the first trap, the foundation of failure: wrong thinking. The greatest tragedy in life is not a lack of opportunity, wealth, talent, or circumstance. It's a lack of right thinking. I said it in 1956, and it remains the cornerstone of human achievement, the key to unlocking your potential. We become what we think about most of the time. This is the strangest secret, the psychological law that governs your reality, the invisible architect that shapes your destiny, moment by moment, thought by thought. Most people fail because they think failure. Their minds are filled with doubt, complaints, excuses, and limitations. They dwell on what's wrong, the bills piling up, the job they hate, the opportunities they don't have, the mistakes they've made. They think, I'm not good enough. It's too late for me. Success is for other people, those with money, connections, luck, youth. Their thoughts are a constant loop of negativity, a radio tuned to a station of despair, and their lives reflect it, as predictable as a shadow follows light, as certain as gravity pulls downward. The law of concentration is merciless, unyielding, universal. What you focus on grows. Focus on failure, and your life shrinks. Your possibilities narrow. Your dreams fade. Your world becomes smaller, darker, heavier. Focus on success, and your life expands. Your opportunities multiply. Your dreams come in a sharper focus. Your potential shines like a beacon. Let me tell you about John, a man I knew in the 1960s in Chicago, a man whose story is a mirror for millions. John was a gifted mechanic, with hands that could fix any machine and a mind sharp enough to run a business, to innovate, to create. He had the raw material for greatness, the kind of talent that could have built a legacy. But John thought failure. Every day, he filled his mind with reasons why he couldn't succeed. He'd say, I'll never get ahead. My boss doesn't value me. The economy's bad. I don't have a college degree. I'm just a working guy. He focused on what he couldn't control, on every obstacle, every excuse, every reason why success was impossible. His thoughts were a litany of resentment, doubt, and self-pity, a storm that drowned out his potential. And his life became a mirror of those thoughts. He stayed in the same dead-end job, turning wrenches for the same meager wage, year after year, decade after decade. When he retired, John was still in that shop, his hands calloused, his dreams buried under a lifetime of I can't, his potential untapped, his life a quiet tragedy of wrong thinking. John's story is not unique. It's the story of the majority, the story of minds that build prisons and lives that dwell within them. Not because they must, but because they choose to, day after day, thought after thought. But John's story could have been different. He could have chosen to think success, to focus on what he could control, his skills, his effort, his attitude. He could have thought, I'll start a small repair shop, or I'll learn business on the side. He could have filled his mind with possibility, with solutions, with I can. The tragedy of wrong thinking is not just that it limits you. It's that it's a choice you can change, a choice you can make differently, starting today. The successful alternative. Successful people think differently. They don't deny challenges, setbacks, or obstacles. They see them clearly, with open eyes, and choose thoughts that move them forward, thoughts that build bridges instead of walls. They focus on what they can control, their effort, their attitude, their next step. They think, I am capable, I will learn, I will find a way, no matter what. In the early 1900s, Henry Ford faced a world that said affordable cars were impossible, a dream too big, too impractical, too far-fetched. Skeptics laughed, investors turned away, obstacles piled high like mountains. But Ford thought, I'll make it happen. His mind was fixed on solutions, not problems, on possibilities, not limitations, on innovation, not excuses. He filled his thoughts with vision, with persistence, with the unshakable belief that he could change the world. And he did. Ford built an empire that revolutionized transportation, that made the automobile a reality for millions, that proved the power of right thinking. Successful people don't let circumstances dictate their thoughts. They dictate their circumstances by choosing thoughts of success, growth, action, and possibility, day after day, moment by moment. Action for today. Change your thoughts, starting now. Take a piece of paper and write down one negative thought you repeat daily. I'm too old to start over. I'm not talented enough. I'll never make it in this economy. Be honest. Face it. See it for what it is. A lie that limits you. Now, cross it out and write a positive affirmation in its place. I am capable of learning new skills. I am taking action now. I am building my future, one step at a time. Repeat this affirmation 3 times today, morning, noon, and night, with conviction, with fire, as if your life depends on it, because it does. For the next 30 days, catch yourself when you think failure, when doubt creeps in, when that voice whispers, you can't. Redirect your mind to success, to possibility, to what you want. Write your affirmation where you'll see it, on your mirror, your phone, your desk, and let it be your anchor, your reminder, your truth. Your thoughts are your power, your architect, your destiny. Use them wisely. For 30 days, think only about what you want, not what you fear. The second trap is a lack of goals, the silent drift that keeps most people stuck in a life of mediocrity, a life without direction, without purpose, without meaning. Most people live like ships without a rudder, tossed wherever the currents of life take them, by chance, by circumstance, by the expectations of others. They wake up, go to work, pay bills, scroll through social media, binge watch TV, and repeat, day after day, year after year, decade after decade, hoping something will change, hoping life will somehow work out, hoping for a miracle that never comes. But hope is not a strategy, not a plan, not a path to success. Without a clear goal, you're not living. You're existing, a passenger in your own life, letting others, your boss, your family, society, decide your path, your worth, your future. The law of purpose is clear, uncompromising, eternal. A life without a goal is a life without meaning, a life destined for failure. Most people fail because they never decide what they want, never define their destination, never chart their course. And so, they get what life hands them: mediocrity, regret, a nagging, aching sense of, is this all there is? Consider Sarah, a bright woman I met in the 1970s in Cleveland, Ohio, a woman whose story is a mirror for millions. Sarah had a good job as a clerk in a bustling office, a steady paycheck, a comfortable routine, the kind of life that seemed fine on the surface. But Sarah had no vision for her future, no goal to guide her, no sense of where she wanted to go. When I asked her, Sarah, what do you want out of life? She shrugged and said, I'll figure out someday. I'm young, I have time. But someday came and went, as it always does. Sarah stayed in that same job, typing the same memos, filing the same papers, living the same predictable life, year after year, decade after decade. Her dreams of writing a novel, of starting a small boutique, of traveling the world to see new horizons, they faded, buried under the weight of I'll do it later, under the comfort of routine, under the illusion of someday. 30 years later, Sarah was still a clerk, her desk unchanged, her life a cycle of routine, her potential wasted, her dreams reduced to a quiet ache in her heart. She didn't fail because she lacked ability, intelligence, or opportunity. Sarah failed because she lacked direction, because she never decided what she wanted, because she let life choose for her. Sarah's story is not unique. It's the story of the majority, the story of lives adrift, of potential squandered, of futures lost to the trap of aimlessness. Without a goal, life becomes a drift, a slow descent into regret, where the years pass like pages in a book you never read, where the person you could have been becomes a stranger, a memory of what might have been. But Sarah's story could have been different. She could have chosen a goal, even a small one. I'll write 1 page a day. I'll save $50 a month for my business. She could have given her life direction, purpose, meaning. The tragedy of a lack of goals is not just that it leaves you lost. It's that it's a choice you can change, a choice you can make differently, starting today. The successful alternative. Successful people set clear, specific, vivid goals. They know what they want, why they want it, and what they're willing to do to get it. They don't just dream, they decide, they commit, they act. In the 1920s, a young Walt Disney set a goal to create animated films that would captivate the world, stories that would bring joy, wonder, and imagination to millions. He faced bankruptcy, rejection, skeptics who called animation a passing fad, a foolish dream. But Disney's goal was his North Star, guiding his every action, keeping him focused through setbacks, through doubts, through failures. He wrote his vision, reviewed it daily, let it shape his choices, his work, his life. That goal gave birth to Mickey Mouse, to Snow White, to Disneyland, to a legacy that still inspires, still delights, still proves the power of a clear purpose. Successful people don't drift. They steer, with goals that give their lives direction, meaning, and power, goals that turn dreams into reality, one determined step at a time. Action for today. Stop drifting, starting now. Take a moment today to write one goal for the next 30 days. Specific, measurable, meaningful, vivid. Maybe it's, I'll read one book on leadership to grow my skills. I'll save $500 for my future. I'll pitch my business idea to 3 potential partners. I'll run 10 miles a week to reclaim my health. Make it real. By day 30, I'll have completed a leadership book and applied one lesson in my work, making me a stronger leader. Write it with clarity, with passion, as if it's already happening. Put this goal where you'll see it every day, on your bathroom mirror, your phone's lock screen, your desk at work. Each morning, ask yourself, what's one thing I could do today toward this goal? It could be reading a page, saving $5, drafting an email, going for a 20-minute run. For the next 30 days, let your goal be your compass, your guide, your reason to act, your reminder that you're not a passenger. You're the captain of your life. Direction changes everything. Start steering your life today, and watch the drift begin to fade. The third trap is fear, the silent saboteur that stops most people before they even begin, the invisible chain that binds potential, the whisper that drowns out dreams. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of looking foolish, fear of losing what little they have, fear of the unknown. These are the shadows that haunt the majority, the barriers that keep them stuck. Most people fail because they let fear dictate their choices, their actions, their lives. They stay in jobs they hate because it's safe, because the paycheck is certain, because change is scary. They avoid risks because, what if it doesn't work? They silence their ambitions because, what will people think? They choose comfort over courage, safety over growth, familiarity over possibility, and their lives reflect it. Small, predictable, unfulfilled, a shadow of what could have been. a life lived in the grip of fear. The law of courage is uncompromising, eternal, undeniable. Growth lies on the other side of fear, but most people never cross that line, never take that step, never dare to try, because fear feels bigger than they are, stronger than their dreams, louder than their potential. I think of Mark, a salesman I met in the 1980s in Detroit, Michigan, a man whose story is a mirror for millions. Mark had a dream to start his own company, a vision for a small tech business that could solve real problems, that could make a difference. He had the skills, the plan, the passion. He'd spent nights sketching ideas, researching markets, dreaming of a future where he was his own boss. But fear stopped him cold, like a wall he couldn't climb. What if I lose everything? He'd say, his voice trembling. What if I fail and everyone laughs? What if I can't pay my bills? He let fear paint vivid pictures of disaster, bankruptcy, humiliation, regret. And those pictures kept him stuck, paralyzed, unable to act. Mark stayed in his safe, soul-draining job, selling products he didn't believe in, watching others take risks, build businesses, succeed where he could have. Year after year, his dream faded, his passion dimmed, his confidence eroded. By the time he retired, his dream was a regret, oh, what if, that haunted him, a weight heavier than any failure could have been. Fear stole Mark's potential, not because it was real, not because it was unbeatable, but because he believed it, because he let it choose his path, because he never took that first trembling step. Mark's story is the story of the majority, the story of lives limited by fear, of dreams abandoned before they could bloom, of potential locked away by the fear of what if. But Mark's story could have been different. He could have faced his fear, taken one small step, reaching out to a mentor, building a prototype, saving $100 for his venture. He could have asked, what if I succeed? Instead of what if I fail? The tragedy of fear is not just that it stops you. It's that it's a choice you can change, a choice you can make differently, starting today. The successful alternative. Successful people feel fear. Fear is human, universal, inevitable, but they act anyway because they know fear is a signal, not a stop sign, a challenge to grow, not a reason to shrink. They ask, what if I succeed? What if I learn? What if this is the start of something great? They see fear as a doorway to growth, a test of courage, a chance to become more. In the 1990s, J.K. Rowling was a single mother on welfare in Edinburgh, Scotland, terrified of failing as a writer, terrified of rejection, of poverty, of letting her daughter down, of proving her doubters right. She felt fear every day, every time she sat at her typewriter, every time she sent her manuscript to a publisher. But Rowling faced her fear, wrote through the doubts, sent her manuscript to publisher after publisher despite rejection after rejection. 12 rejections, each one a blow, each one a chance to give up. Her courage, her refusal to let fear win, created Harry Potter, a story that changed the world, a legacy that proves fear is no match for action, for persistence, for belief. Successful people don't wait for fear to vanish. They take small, brave steps, building courage like a muscle, and their lives grow, expand, so as a result, becoming testaments to the power of action over fear. Action for today. Face one fear today, right now, in this moment. Make that phone call you've been avoiding. Ask for that opportunity you've hesitated to pursue. Take that first trembling step toward your goal, whether it's signing up for a course, pitching an idea, or admitting a truth to yourself. Take a piece of paper and write down what scares you. I'm afraid of failing my business pitch. I'm afraid of being rejected. I'm afraid I'm not enough. Be honest, face it, see it for what it is, a shadow, not a wall. Now, write, I am bigger than my fear. I am stronger than my doubts. I am capable of acting now. Act despite the fear. It's weaker than you think, a shadow that fades in the light of action, a whisper that quiets when you move. For the next 30 days, take one small, courageous action daily. A conversation, an application, a moment of vulnerability, a step toward your dream. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the choice to move forward, to act, to grow, to become. For 30 days, choose courage over comfort, action over hesitation, and watch your life begin to change. Watch your fears begin to shrink. Watch your potential begin to shine. The final trap is the refusal to take responsibility, the blame game that keeps most people powerless, stuck, and unfulfilled. Most people fail because they point fingers at their boss who doesn't promote them, their parents who didn't support them, their upbringing that held them back, the economy that's unfair, the bad luck that follows them, the world that doesn't understand. They say, life isn't fair. I didn't get the breaks. Someone should fix this for me. And they're right. Life isn't fair. It never has been, never will be. The world is not a gentle place. Not a place that hands you success on a silver platter. Not a place that owes you anything. But waiting for fairness, for someone else to hand you a better life, for the world to make it right, is a recipe for failure, a surrender of your power, a choice to live as a victim instead of creator. The law of responsibility is clear, uncompromising, liberating. Your life is your creation, shaped by your choices, not your conditions, not your circumstances, not the hand you were dealt. Most people fail because they give away their power, letting others, their boss, their family, society, decide their direction, their worth, their future, and then wonder why they're stuck, why their dreams remain out of reach, why their lives feel like someone else's story. I knew a woman named Ellen in the 1990s in Philadelphia, a talented graphic designer stuck in a low-paying job, a job that stifled her creativity, that paid just enough to survive, but not enough to thrive. Ellen had the skills to freelance, to build a career she loved, to create art that inspired, that mattered. She had the raw material for greatness, the kind of talent that could have built a legacy. But Ellen blamed everyone else for her stagnation. She blamed her manager for not promoting her coworkers for getting the better projects, her lack of connections in the industry, her college for not preparing her parents for not pushing her harder. She'd say, if only I had the right boss, the right network, the right chance, I'd be somewhere. She waited for someone to discover her, to hand her a better life, to make it easy, to open the door she refused to knock on. No one did. Year after year, Ellen stayed in that same role, designing the same uninspired flyers, her creativity stifled, her dreams fading, her life a cycle of complaints, of if-onlys. When she retired, she was still in that cubicle, still blaming, still waiting, her potential wasted, her life a quiet tragedy, not because of others, but because she never took ownership of her life, never said, this is mine to shape, never chose to act. Ellen's story is the story of the majority, the story of lives limited by blame, of potential squandered by the refusal to take responsibility, of futures lost to the trap of victimhood. But Ellen's story could have been different. She could have taken responsibility, even in small ways, learning new design software, pitching a freelance project, saving $10 a week for her own studio. She could have said, my life is mine to create, no matter what. The tragedy of refusing responsibility is not just that it leaves you powerless, it's that it's a choice you can change, a choice you can make differently, starting today. The successful alternative. Successful people take full responsibility for their lives, their choices, their outcomes, their futures. They say, my life is mine to create, no matter the circumstances, no matter the obstacles, no matter the odds. They don't wait for permission, for perfect conditions, for someone to save them. They act, they learn, they own their path, and their lives reflect their power, their courage, their commitment. In the 1970s, Oprah Winfrey faced a world stacked against her. Abuse, poverty, discrimination, rejection at every turn. A life that seemed destined for struggle. She could have blamed her past, her skin color, her lack of resources, her gender, and no one would have faulted her. The world gave her every reason to. But Oprah took responsibility for her education, her effort, her attitude, her growth. She studied, worked tirelessly, seized every opportunity, no matter how small, and built a legacy that inspires millions, a testament to the power of ownership, of choosing to create rather than complain. Successful people don't wait for the world to change. They change their world, one choice at a time, one action at a time, one moment of responsibility at a time. Action for today. Stop blaming. Starting now. Take a piece of paper and write down one area of your life where you've blamed others. Your job that's going nowhere, your finances that feel tight, your relationships that feel strained, your lack of progress toward your dreams. Be honest. Face it. See it for what it is. A story you've told yourself to avoid action. Now, right? I am responsible for my next step. I am the creator of my future. Take one action today to reclaim your power. Update your resume. Save $10. Have that tough conversation. Sign up for that course. Write that first sentence of your book. For the next 30 days, ask yourself every morning, what can I do today to change this? It could be learning a new skill, making a phone call, cutting an expense, apologizing, starting. Responsibility is not a burden. It's freedom, the key to your potential, the spark that ignites your future. Claim it now, and watch your life begin to shift. Watch your power begin to grow. Watch your dreams begin to take shape. Failure is not final. It's a teacher, a turning point, a chance to rise, if you choose it. The traps of wrong thinking, aimlessness, fear, and blame are powerful, but they are not unbreakable. You can escape them. You can rewrite your story. You can start today. Let's look at stories of people who fell into these traps, who faced failure head on, but changed their thinking, their actions, their lives, and rose to greatness, proving that failure is not your destiny, that you can choose a different path, that you can become who you were meant to be. In the early 1900s, Thomas Edison was labeled too stupid to learn by a schoolteacher, a crushing verdict for a young boy with big dreams, a verdict that could have defined him, that could have buried his potential. He could have believed it. Let wrong thinking take root. I'm not smart enough. He could have drifted without goals, letting others decide his path. He could have feared failure, stopped by the ridicule of others. He could have blamed his lack of formal education, his teachers, his circumstances. Instead, Edison thought, I'll find answers. He set goals to invent, to solve problems, to create things the world had never seen. He faced fear by experimenting thousands of times, failing over and over, 10,000 attempts, each one a lesson, each one a step closer. He took responsibility for his learning, teaching himself through books, through trial and error, through relentless curiosity. His persistence gave us the light bulb, the phonograph, a legacy that lit the world, that proved failure is only a step, not a sentence, if you choose to think differently, to act boldly, to own your path. In the 1980s, Les Brown was labeled educable mentally retarded. As a child, a blow that could have shattered his confidence, his future, his sense of self. He could have believed it, let wrong thinking define him. I'm not capable. He could have drifted, letting that label set his course. He could have feared rejection, silenced by the judgment of others. He could have blamed his teachers, his school, his circumstances, and settled for a life of limitation. Instead, Brown thought, I am somebody. He set a goal to become a speaker, to inspire others with his voice, to prove his worth. He faced fear by practicing relentlessly, speaking to small crowds, to empty rooms, to anyone who'd listen, his voice trembling but growing stronger. He took responsibility for his growth, studying great orators, honing his craft, learning from every rejection. Today, Les Brown's voice inspires millions, a testament to the power of right thinking, of goals, of courage, of ownership. His failure was his fuel, his transformation his legacy, his story a beacon for anyone who feels labeled, limited, or lost. In the 2000s, a man named David, a failed entrepreneur in Seattle, was drowning in debt, his first business a wreck, his confidence in tatters. He fell into every trap. He thought failure, telling himself, "I'm not cut out for this." He drifted, unsure of his next step, his dreams vague and unformed. He feared trying again, haunted by the pain of his first collapse. He blamed the market, his partners, his bad luck, sinking into despair, into a life that felt like a dead end. Then he heard my message, the strangest secret, and it woke him up like a jolt of electricity to his soul. He changed his thinking. I can rebuild, I can learn, I can start again. He set a goal to start a small online business, something modest but real, something he could control. He faced fear by learning digital marketing, a field he knew nothing about, studying late into the night, his eyes burning but his heart alive. He took responsibility for his finances, cutting expenses, saving every dollar, owning his mistakes and his future. In 30 days, he had a website. In 6 months, his first customers. In 2 years, a thriving business that supported his family, that gave him freedom, that proved he was more than his failures. David's story is proof. You can fall, but you can rise if you choose to think success, to set goals, to face fear, to own your life. In the 2010s, a woman named Maria, a single mother in Miami, felt trapped in a low-paying retail job. Her days a blur of ringing up sales, her nights a struggle to provide for her children. She fell into every trap. She thought failure, telling herself, "I'll never get out of this." She drifted, her dreams of writing buried under the weight of survival. She feared rejection, terrified of putting her work out there, of being judged. She blamed her lack of education, her demanding schedule, her ex-partner who left her struggling, her life a cycle of if only. But one day, Maria decided enough was enough. She heard a voice, maybe mine, maybe her own, and it said, "You are enough." She thought, "I can create a better life." She set a goal to become a freelance writer, to use her love of storytelling to build a future. She faced fear by submitting her first article, her hands shaking as she hit send, her heart racing but alive. She took responsibility by learning online, taking free courses, writing after her kids were asleep, her eyes heavy but her spirit light. In 30 days, she had her first paid gig, a small victory that sparked hope. In a year, a steady income. Today, she runs a writing business that gives her freedom, joy, and pride, a life she created through her choices. Maria's failure was her starting point, her transformation her triumph, her story a reminder that you can start where you stand, that you can change, that you can rise. In the 2020s, a young woman named Aisha, a recent graduate in Atlanta, faced a job market that felt impossible, her degree in marketing useless in a world of layoffs and uncertainty. She thought failure, telling herself, "I wasted my time, I'll never make it." She drifted, applying to jobs without passion, her dreams vague and fading. She feared standing out, terrified of pitching herself, of being seen as not enough. She blamed the economy, her college, the world that didn't give her a chance. But Aisha found a spark, maybe a book, maybe a mentor, maybe a moment of clarity, and she decided to fight. She thought, I can create my own path. She set a goal to start a social media consulting side hustle, using her skills to help small businesses. She faced fear by posting her first video, her voice shaky, but her message clear. She took responsibility by learning analytics, networking online, building her brand one post at a time. In 30 days, she had her first client. In 6 months, a growing business. Today, she's a sought-after consultant, her life a testament to her choices. Aisha's failure was her spark, her transformation her proof, her story your invitation to begin. These stories, Edison, Brown, David, Maria, Aisha, are not outliers, not fairy tales, not unreachable legends. They're proof that failure is not your destiny, that the traps of wrong thinking, aimlessness, fear, and blame can be escaped, that you can rewrite your story, that you can start today. You can change your thoughts, set clear goals, face your fears, take responsibility, and build a life that matters. For 30 days, you will think only about what you want, not what you fear. What happens if you don't change? If you keep thinking failure, drifting without goals, letting fear rule, blaming others for your circumstances, your struggles, your stagnation, the cost is not just a moment, not just a missed opportunity. It's your life, the life you could have lived, the person you could have become, the dreams you could have turned into reality. The cost of inaction is a life half-lived, a life of quiet desperation, where dreams become regrets, potential becomes a shadow, and years become a weight you carry, a burden heavier than any effort, any risk, any failure. Most people fail not because they tried and lost, but because they never tried at all, because they let the traps of failure define them, because they chose comfort over courage, drift over direction, blame over responsibility, ease over growth. I've seen it too often, in too many lives, in too many eyes that carry the weight of regret. I think of Robert, a man I met in the 1990s in St. Louis, a man who dreamed of being a musician, of writing songs that moved hearts, of sharing his music with the world. Robert had talent, a voice that could hush a room, a gift that could have built a legacy. But Robert let fear and excuses stop him. He feared failure, feared rejection, feared the judgment of others. He drifted, telling himself, I'll start when I have more time, when I'm ready. He blamed his lack of time, his family's expectations, the music industry's barriers, the world that didn't give him a stage. He never picked up his guitar, never wrote his songs, never took that first step. At 70, Robert sat across from me, his hands trembling, his eyes distant, and said, I could have been something, Earl. I could have shared my music. I could have lived my dream. The pain of regret in his voice was heavier than any failure could have been, a pain that lingers, that cuts deeper than any risk, that stays with you long after the chance to act has passed. Don't let that be you. The law of time is unforgiving, relentless, unyielding. Every day you delay, you lose a piece of your future, a piece of your potential, a piece of the life you could have lived. Every day you choose wrong thinking, aimlessness, fear, or blame. You move further from your dreams, further from the person you're meant to be. But the law of choice is your salvation, your power, your hope. Every day, you can choose differently. You can choose to think success, to set a goal, to face fear, to take responsibility. You can choose to act, to grow, to build a life that matters, a life that reflects your potential, your passion, your purpose. The cost of inaction is a life of what-ifs, a life where someone else decides your direction, your worth, your future. The reward of action is a life of I did it, a life where you decide, where you create, where you shine, where you become the person you were born to be. Which will you choose? Before we reach our final call to action, let's talk about the power you hold, the power that defines your life, the power that no one can take from you, the power of choice. Every moment, you're making choices, conscious or unconscious, deliberate or habitual, bold or timid. You choose to think success or failure, to set a goal or drift, to face fear or hide, to take responsibility or blame. These choices are small, often invisible, often disguised as routine, but they are profound, monumental, life-altering. They compound, building your life, brick by brick, day by day, moment by moment, shaping your reality, your future, your legacy. Most people fail because they don't realize the power of their choices, because they let habit, fear, doubt, or others choose for them, because they surrender their power without a fight. But you're different. You're here, listening, awake to the truth, ready to choose differently, ready to reclaim your power, ready to build a life that matters. Think of Nelson Mandela, who faced 27 years in prison, a life sentence that could have broken him, that could have defined him as a victim, a casualty of injustice. Mandela could have chosen anger, bitterness, despair. Most would have, and no one would have blamed him. He could have thought failure, drifted without purpose, feared the future, blamed his captors, his country, his fate. Instead, Mandela chose forgiveness over hatred, unity over division, hope over despair. He thought, I can build a better future. He set a goal to reconcile a divided nation, to lead with compassion. He faced fear by standing tall, by speaking truth, by risking everything for peace. He took responsibility for his role, for his choices, for his country's healing. His choices changed South Africa, changed the world, proved that one person's choices can ripple across history, can move mountains, can inspire generations. Your choices may not change nations, but they will change your life, your family, your community, your world. They will change you, making you stronger, clearer, more alive, more aligned with the person you are meant to be. For the next 30 days, see every moment as a choice, every thought as a decision, every action as a step toward your future. When you wake up, choose to think success. I am capable. I am enough. When you face a challenge, choose to set a goal. I will take one step today. When fear arises, choose to act. I'm bigger than my fear. When life feels unfair, choose to take responsibility. I'm the creator of my future. Your choices are your power, your freedom, your path to a life of purpose, meaning, and impact. Use them wisely. Use them boldly. Use them now. Because every choice you make is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life, a note in the symphony of your legacy, a step toward the person you were born to be. Let's talk about courage, the spark that starts this journey, the flame that keeps it burning, the force that turns dreams into reality. Beginning this transformation, escaping the traps of failure, choosing a new path, takes courage, raw, unfiltered courage. It's not the courage of heroes and stories, not the courage of leaping in a battle or facing impossible odds. It's a quieter courage, a deeper courage, the courage to believe in yourself when doubt is loud, the courage to take that first trembling step when the path is unclear, the courage to face the unknown, to risk failure, to stand up and say, this is my life, and I will shape it. Most people never begin. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect version of themselves, for a sign that says, now is the time. But the perfect moment doesn't exist. The only moment you have is now. This fleeting, precious now. This heartbeat. This breath. This spark of possibility. And the only version of yourself you need is the one listening to this. The one who's ready to try, to grow, to become. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it, choosing to move forward when your knees tremble, when your heart races, when the voice in your head says, "You're not ready, you're not enough." Look at Maya Angelou, who faced a childhood of trauma, racism, and silence, who could have let fear and blame define her. She felt fear every time she wrote, every time she spoke, every time she shared her truth with the world. But Angelou chose courage, thinking, "My voice matters." She set goals to write, to inspire, to heal. She faced fear by publishing, by speaking, by standing tall. She took responsibility for her story, turning pain into poetry, struggle into strength. Her courage gave us "I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings," a legacy that lifts hearts, that proves courage is the bridge between failure and greatness. For the next 30 days, you'll need courage. Courage to change your thoughts, to set a goal, to face fear, to take responsibility. That courage is already inside you, waiting to be unleashed, waiting in your heart, your soul, the part of you that knows you're meant for more. Tap into it. Let it guide you. Let it light your way. Choose courage over comfort, action over hesitation, growth over stagnation. For 30 days, be brave. Think only about what you want, not what you fear. The world is waiting for your courage, your light, your legacy. This is your moment, the moment you decide who you are, what your life will be, what legacy you'll leave. You've heard the harsh truth. Most people fail because they think wrong, drift without goals, let fear rule, and refuse responsibility. You've seen the traps, wrong thinking that builds prisons, aimlessness that leads to regret, fear that steals dreams, blame that surrenders power. You've seen the alternative. Successful people think success, set clear goals, act despite fear, and own their lives. You've heard the stories: Edison, Brown, Winfrey, Mandela, Angelou, David, Maria, Aisha. Proof that failure is not final, that you can change your path, that you can rise from any fall, that you can start where you stand. Now it's up to you. The truth is laid bare. The path is clear. The choice is yours. Close your eyes. Imagine your life 5 years from now, if you act today, if you seize this moment. You've changed your thinking, filling your mind with possibility, with solutions, with "I can," with "I will." You've set bold goals, steering your life with purpose, building a future that excites you, that wakes you up with fire in your heart. You've faced your fears, taking brave steps, growing stronger with every action, every risk, every moment of courage. You've taken responsibility, owning your choices, shaping your destiny, creating a life that reflects your potential, your passion, your truth. You're living with purpose, running your business, thriving in your career, strong in your health, proud of your growth, connected to those you love. You wake up each morning with clarity, with joy, knowing you're building a life that matters, a legacy that lasts, a story that inspires. You're not perfect, no one is, but you're proud, alive, unstoppable, a light for others to follow, a beacon of what's possible when you choose to act. Now imagine the alternative, the path of inaction, the path of the majority. 5 years from now, you've done nothing. You're still stuck, still thinking failure, still drifting without direction, still afraid, still blaming others, still waiting for someday. Your dreams are distant memories, faded photographs in a drawer, buried under years of excuses. Your potential is a shadow, your life a series of what-ifs, heavier with every passing year, every missed chance, every choice you didn't make. The pain of regret weighs you down, the knowledge that you could have acted, could have chosen, could have lived, but didn't. Which future will you choose? Which life will you claim? Which person will you become? If you don't decide your life's direction, someone else will. And that someone, your boss, society, circumstance, rarely has your best future in mind. This is your wake-up call, your moment of truth, your chance to break free from the traps of failure, to claim the life you were born for. Start today, right now, in this moment. Write your goal. Make it specific. Make it yours. Make it vivid. Pin it where you'll see it every day. Let it be your North Star. Affirm your worth. Look in the mirror and say, I am capable. I am enough. I am creating my future. And believe it, feel it, own it. Take one brave step. Make that call. Send that email. Face that fear. Start that project. Take that risk. Own your choices. Stop blaming. Stop waiting. Start acting. Take responsibility for your life, your dreams, your destiny. For 30 days, think only about what you want, not what you fear. Change your thoughts. Set your course. Face your fears. Take responsibility and build a life that matters. You are capable of more than you can possibly imagine, more than you've dared to dream, more than the world has told you. The time is now. The person is you. Stop tiptoeing through life. Claim your future. Begin today.